science points to an imminent eruption.
Two volcanic earthquakes and 72 rockfall events have been recorded.
Mayon Volcano continues to emit pyroclastic flows.
Earthquake and volcanic activity are common in the Philippines.
8 kilometers. That's the distance between life and death right now in the Philippines. A toxic cloud so massive it's visible from space is choking entire communities as one of the world's most dangerous volcanoes enters a phase that has scientists genuinely terrified. What they discovered in the past 72 hours has forced authorities to make an unprecedented decision that could determine the fate of thousands. Mount Mayon isn't just erupting, it's breaking records that haven't been touched in 15 years. The numbers coming from monitoring stations are sending shockwaves through the volcanology community worldwide. We're witnessing sulfur dioxide emissions reaching 1,800 tons per day, nearly triple what experts considered catastrophic just months ago. But here's what makes this situation absolutely chilling. Every single time in recorded history these levels were reached, a devastating eruption followed within days. The timeline of escalation reads like a countdown to disaster. On January 7, 2026, monitoring stations recorded 72 rockfall events. By January 9th, that number had doubled. The lava dome growing at Mayon's summit is expanding at 15 cubic meters per hour, a rate that defies everything volcanologists thought they knew about this volcano.
Mayon Volcano, which continues to show signs of a possible eruption.
Eruption is possible within weeks or even days. Mayon is experiencing magmatic eruption with higher chances of lava overflow.
When that dome collapses, and scientists say it's not a matter of if, but when, the resulting pyroclastic flows will race down the mountain at over 100 kilometers per hour, turning everything in their path to ash. The decision came at 2:15 p.m. on January 9th. Philippine authorities expanded the danger zone from 6 to 8 kilometers, nearly doubling the threatened area from 113 to 201 square kilometers. This wasn't precautionary. It was an emergency response to pyroclastic flows that had already exceeded previous safety margins. Scientists recorded flows reaching 7.2 kilometers through Bonga Gully, proving that the original evacuation zone could no longer guarantee survival. Governor Noel Rosal's announcement sent immediate panic through 12 additional barangays. Communities that had been watching from what they believed was safe distance suddenly found themselves in the direct path of potential annihilation. Santo Domingo, outer districts of Daraga, portions of Camalig. Overnight, these areas transformed from observers to potential victims. Military convoys rolled through villages in darkness, evacuating 4,200 additional residents who had mere hours to abandon everything they'd ever known. The shelters tell their own story of crisis. Facilities designed for 5,000 people now house nearly 8,000. Families separated by hanging blankets, children missing school, businesses shuttered indefinitely. The economic hemorrhaging reaches 180 million pesos daily as 3,400 hectares of agricultural land sit abandoned within the expanded zone. But economics pale against what monitoring equipment reveals about the monster awakening beneath their feet. Sulfur dioxide doesn't lie. This invisible gas serves as nature's most honest messenger, revealing exactly what's happening kilometers below the surface. When magma rises from deep chambers, pressure drops and gases separate from molten rock. The volume escaping directly correlates with how much fresh magma is ascending. Baseline emissions at Mayon typically measure 150 to 500 tons daily during quiet periods. The current 1,800 tons per day represents activity beyond elevated. It's pre-catastrophic. Dr. Maria Antonia Borres explained what makes this reading so terrifying. During Mayon's 2023 alert episode, emissions peaked at 890 tons daily. The current levels triple that maximum. Historical analysis reveals an unforgiving pattern. Before Mayon's deadliest eruptions in 1814, 1897, and 2001, sulfur dioxide spiked dramatically in preceding weeks. The 2001 eruption that generated pyroclastic flows reaching 7 kilometers recorded 3,200 tons per day just before the explosive phase.
The governor there announced mandatory evacuation of people living within the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone. There has been a stark increase in volcanic activity recorded, around 267 rockfall events.
Current emissions sit at 2,800 and climbing. The acceleration over 72 hours transformed scientific concern into active emergency. January 7th's 100 pyroclastic density currents seemed extreme until January 8th produced 127. Then January 9th shattered records with 156 separate collapse events. The largest explosion at 3:47 p.m. generated an ash column shooting 3,200 meters skyward. Over 10,000 feet of superheated debris launched into the atmosphere. This single event produced the pyroclastic surge that traveled 7.2 kilometers, directly triggering the evacuation expansion. Seismic activity tells another piece of this volcanic puzzle. 7 earthquakes on January 9th marked the highest daily count since intensive monitoring began. Each tremor represents rock fracturing under immense pressure, magma forcing pathways through solid stone. The mountain literally tears itself apart from within as millions of tons of molten rock seek escape routes to the surface. Thermal imaging reveals the growing crisis in vivid detail. The lava dome glows with temperatures exceeding 900 degrees Celsius, radiating heat visible from dozens of kilometers away. This isn't stable extrusion like 2023's 6-month episode. This is rapid accumulation of unstable material that gravity pulls downward every second. The dome grows faster than debris can shed naturally, creating conditions for catastrophic failure. Mount Mayon's reputation as the Philippines' most active volcano comes from 54 documented eruptions since 1616. 4 centuries of violence, averaging 1 major eruption every 7 years. But 2026 demonstrates warning signs separating it from every recent precedent. Ground deformation measurements show 11 centimeters of inflation since June 2024, concentrated in eastern and southeastern sectors. The mountain bulges outward at 0.3 millimeters daily, pushed by magma pressure that accumulates relentlessly. The 1814 eruption remains Mayon's deadliest lesson. February 1st of that year saw the volcano explode with fury that buried entire Cagsawa town under pyroclastic flows. 1,200 people died instantly. Church ruins, still visible today, stand as stone testimony to Mayon's capability for absolute destruction. Historical records describe sulfur dioxide clouds choking the entire province for weeks before that catastrophic explosion, eerily similar to current conditions. Recent history offers no comfort. The 2001 episode generated flows reaching 7 kilometers after similar warning signs. The 2018 eruption displaced 80,000 people across 3 months, but current indicators surpass anything recorded during those events. Dr. Renato Solidum stated that never in Mayon's monitored history have scientists observed sulfur dioxide emissions, ground deformation, and explosive activity all escalating simultaneously at these magnitudes. The worst-case scenario keeps volcanologists awake at night. Complete dome failure in a single catastrophic event would provide 0 warning time. A massive section giving way suddenly would generate pyroclastic density currents instantly. Temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius mixing with volcanic ash and rock fragments would accelerate down Mayon slopes faster than any vehicle could escape. Within 5 minutes, flows would reach 3 to 4 kilometers from the summit. Everything in that radius, people, buildings, vegetation, would be incinerated before physical impact arrived. The expanded 8-kilometer zone exists because scientists calculated exactly what happens between minutes 5 and 15 of such an event. Flows would funnel through established channels, Bonga Gully, Basud Gully, Misi drainage systems, maintaining lethal temperatures and velocities across the entire distance. The difference between 6 and 8 kilometers isn't just distance, It's thousands of lives. Secondary effects multiply the danger exponentially. Ash columns could rise 12 kilometers high, affecting aviation across the entire Bicol region. Volcanic particulates would blanket hundreds of square kilometers immediately. If rain coincides with eruption, lahars, volcanic mudflows, would transform every river valley into channels of liquid concrete moving at tremendous velocity, extending destruction far beyond pyroclastic reach. Current monitoring shows no signs of stabilization. January 10th recorded 2,830 tons of sulfur dioxide, slightly increased from previous days. January 11th documented 147 pyroclastic events by evening. The pattern isn't cyclic or breathing, it's continuous escalation. Electronic tilt meters detect the mountain expanding outward. GPS networks measure vertical uplift of 1.2 millimeters daily at summit stations. Every measurement confirms the same terrifying conclusion. Massive volumes of magma positioned shallow beneath the crater, actively degassing and continuously rising. The human cost accumulates hourly. Exactly 7,676 people remain displaced across 19 emergency shelters stretched beyond capacity. Families watch their homes from 8 kilometers away, visible but untouchable, knowing everything built across generations sits within the incineration radius. Children miss school indefinitely. Businesses hemorrhage money. Farms sit unattended during critical growing seasons. Psychological pressure builds as economic necessity battles survival instinct. Scientists track patterns and recognize trends, but volcanic prediction remains maddeningly imprecise. Dr. Boras explained that despite sophisticated monitoring, pinpointing the exact moment when accumulated stress exceeds what fractured rock can withstand remains impossible. The volcano could continue slow extrusion for months like 2023, or catastrophic failure could occur within hours. The only certainty is that current conditions cannot persist indefinitely. As darkness falls on January 11, 2026, Mount Mayon's perfect cone glows red against the Philippine sky. Beautiful and deadly, the volcano continues its relentless buildup, while 7,676 evacuees wait in overcrowded shelters. Scientists monitor instruments that never sleep, and sulfur dioxide pours skyward at rates that history says lead to only one outcome. The expanded danger zone stands empty, 201 square kilometers of abandoned communities serving as buffer between human life and volcanic fury. The question isn't whether Mayon will unleash its full destructive power. The question is when. Every indicator suggests that moment approaches rapidly. The countdown that began with record-breaking gas emissions continues with each pyroclastic flow, each earthquake, each millimeter of ground deformation. Authorities made their choice, expanding the danger zone. Now everyone waits to see if 8 kilometers will be enough when Mayon finally decides. That's it for today, folks. See you in the next video.